Hey, good morning, everybody. Let me just start off by saying thank you. I want to say one thing before I get started. I really wasn't hyping this as much as I probably should have. I genuinely believe that the things I want to teach you are as or more exciting than anything I've come up with, Ron and I have come up with in the last 15 years. I honestly, truly believe it. And I wasn't being hypey marketing guy, new and improved guy. I honestly, in my core, it's affected me. And so I simultaneously believe that I can teach this to you. I've shown a few other people. Some of you are test case dummies for me. Crash test dummies, guinea pigs, willing participants, mind you, not in a Harvey Weinstein kind of way. Willing participants where you've noticed some things that I've let slip through the cracks. You've picked up some things that I've said in the advanced room. You've gone off and tried a few things based on some of that stuff. And I always wait until that's happened for some sense of either a complete dissolution of the idea, it's no good, it's not working, it's unteachable, or what's happened in this case, verification, validation of the stuff we're about to talk with. Yo, world! Good morning. And if you're here today, you are also validating that, and I really, truly, deeply appreciate it. I want to preface everything by saying you're on a journey now, and I'm going to support all of you on the others through this, before it, through it, and on the other side of it, so that no man or woman gets left behind here. I mean that in the sense of we're going to keep coming back to this until everyone understands it. This is the very first drawing of the logo that I made for the event. And in the same way that the human genome, DNA, is sort of the hallmark of our existence, those double helix spirals. I believe that this is the basic component of time life. If time has a gene, it looks like this. I want to limit my teachings this morning to just some basic instructions, because we're really going to dig into this in about 10 days. And I want to start by just sort of walking you around a little bit through some basic concepts and talk about how this indicator is working and tying into the overarching premises of warp. So everything starts with our understanding of polarity. And one of the things I begin to realize, and if you've been a part of my room, or if you were fortunate enough to be in Greenville a week or two ago, Gary, what do you mean when you say first could we get the install done? If you've purchased, you should have gotten a download link for the software. Rachel's out of commission this week. She actually took a vacation, bless her heart. And so I think a few of you are stragglers in that sense. If you're having trouble with your installation, you can ping my erstwhile partner, Ron. He's on Skype, but I also have his email, backtothefuturetrading.com. And Carrie, he can help you get settled if that's the case. Omnia presupposes several very important things. And I'll make you look at my bald head one more time when I say these things to you. In the past, how to put in the code number? Yeah, sure. So Carrie, when you get the code, before I go, let's just make sure you get settled here. The code goes here. You see where it says setup key? Omnia has a similar parameter in the indicator. And where it says setup key right up near the top, that's where you're going to put it and hit apply or OK. For years, I've operated under the premise initially that there were buy and sell times. No, thank you. And I can support you on the other side of the webinar. We'll get you set up. I promise today. Everything was a red and green dot back in the flux days. Everything was a blue and white dot back in the warp days. And there were pockets and periods of weirdness. You've experienced it. Some of you get to these points in the warp chart where it just feels screwy. Everything isn't working right. Right? Raise your hands, give me a big Y if you've run into those patches of time where it just feels like an engine that's it's stalling and sputtering. Sounds like a Harley. It's just weird. This is an example. What's on my chart right now is a prime example of that. Doesn't look great, Richard, does it? It doesn't feel great. And let me just encourage some of you who need a word of encouragement. You're gonna figure out everything I'm showing you here. You would have figured this out on your own. The only advantage I have over anyone here today, here next week, is that this is all I look at. I don't look at anything else anymore. It's all I look at. And so, theoretically speaking, I'm staring at this one blade of grass all the time. And I know a lot about this one blade of grass. And that's all this is. In the Omnia framework, Omnia literally stands for everything in Latin. It joins all of the time signals together under a cohesive framework that explains the weird patches. And when you see what I'm about to show you, the plugin is one element of it. You begin to see time signals completely differently, and you understand there are no bad time signals. There's, however, an incomplete understanding of how time works in relation to many things: big economic crises, war, all the way down to what's going to happen at an 8:30 economic report Eastern time. So let me come back to this chart, this graph, and explain what it is that overarches all of our timing tools: flux, prime, warp, daily cycle markers, Orion, apogee, perigee, solar cycles, force, all of it. All of these things are subject to the theory I'm discussing with you. All of these things have been thoroughly tested with these principles and found to have benefited from this doctrine. Time exists in two phases. There are two tracks which simultaneously coexist with one another. It was men like Tesla and Einstein and our hero, Mr. Gann, who said that everything comes down to vibration. Tesla said if you understood energy and vibration, you would understand the keys to the universe. Einstein says everything you're looking at is vibration. Tiny particles, which if we look at them very closely, are waves. Explain that to me. Waves are vibration patterns like this. There's nothing solid. Most of what you're looking at is empty space with little tiny atoms vibrating back and forth. Gann says the law of vibration enabled him to accurately determine, paraphrasing, when markets would go up or down. All the way back into Old Testament lore, Ecclesiastes, Solomon, king of the universe at that point, says everything that has happened will happen again. Everything that has happened will happen again. It's just a Bill Murray Groundhog Day movie. Cycles, vibration. What I didn't understand, and what lay just outside of that principle, was the orange wave. The orange wave. Your 5-minute chart doesn't exist in a vacuum. Your daily chart doesn't exist in a vacuum. There are waves and vibration patterns above it, and there are waves and vibration patterns below it. And so, Craig, what happens when a 5-minute vibration pattern is in conflict with a 60-minute vibration pattern? What happens when our 1-minute chart comes into conflict with the signals of a 5-minute chart? These waves interact with each other in the same way. If you've ever swam in the ocean, if you've ever surfed or watched surfers waiting for a big wave, there are small waves and then there are sets of big waves in between. We see that starting January of this year, a second wave always exists in time, meaning we have the capacity for a sell dot here and a buy dot here and a sell dot here and a buy dot here. On a good day, you've also, how many of you have seen charts where it's buy dot up, blue dot down, buy dot up, blue dot down, buy dot up, and so on? the chart is in sync and beautiful. And you think to yourself, today was a great day. What I'm going to teach you a little bit today and most of next week is that all of those times were great when we apply the higher overarching doctrines to them. In the presence of higher time frame signals, the polarity of the times can and do reverse. So as we're chugging along our normal cycle and everything is hunky-dory, and next week I'm going to tell you there are specific things that you will see and go, ah, it's happening the way he said it would happen. Things like carry our rapid acceleration cell dot, our rapid deceleration bi dot. Precursors that tell you it's happening. The same way little tremors in California and Japan warn people, uh-oh, that was a baby earthquake. The big one might be coming. There's a point in the cycle where Danny, and we talked about this, right? There's a point in the cycle where they spontaneously reverse polarity, the signals. And then we begin to center, follow the opposite wave. If you've ever worn a pair of noise canceling headphones, you've been part and parcel to this theory indirectly. When the baby is crying in economy back behind you, your headphones are taking the sound waves of the baby crying, of the engine noise, and feeding your auditory nerve an equal but opposite waveform, so they cancel each other out, right? The baby's going, ah! There's an equal and opposite waveform, and when you combine them, they cancel each other out. A very similar thing exists in time. And so, Craig, for a period of time, yeah, everything is great, and then it switches. Come with me back to the E-mini S&P 5-minute chart, and I want you to see what happens if we invert our understanding of the polarity. And this entire chart now, Asif, is on the orange wave. And you could know that it was on the orange wave. You're going to know for sure. What happens at the 145 dot? What happens at the 340 dot? What happens at the 510 dot? What happens at the 550 dot? What happens at the 650 dot? What happens at the 805 signal? Everything is backwards, Mike. Wait a second. Huh? That's weird. Now watch this. If we're treating this 805 signal like a cell, then Craig, that means I can't draw my splits the way I used to because it's backwards. And if I draw the splits backwards for this morning's econ, Danny, where is my bisplit now? If this was a cell, my bisplit is right here. And if that's my bisplit, where's my cell split? It's right here. The whole cycle is inverted. The entirety of the signals are backwards. And those of you that followed me in the live training room, you see, I want to tell everyone about this. I'm having a hard time. I will literally draw these arrows in real time with the Omnia word above and below them. And it happened yesterday. It literally happened yesterday, where the whole cycle was backwards the entire day. And Center, I was sending screenshots to your associate, and we were going, hey, it's going to drop off a cliff at 120. A lot of you caught it. So everything reverts to an opposite signal. Does that part make sense? Have I lost all of you? And again, this is going to take me 2 days to teach. Inside of opposite signals, the patterns still exist, by the way. So there's still a 4 right here. It's just part of the backwards sequence. Tell me if you guys understand, at least in theory, that there are moments when all of the signals are backwards. And so now, okay, thank you. Now, what that presents for us is possibilities. No. Well, yes, Craig, it does. In the plugin sense, but I'm going to show you how to see it. So Jonathan, now all of these times are neutral. All of the times are neutral. If we look at them through the filter of the true nature of time, for 15 years, we've been imposing an assumption on the signals. And when we've encountered the orange wave, we've tried to explain it away as needing optimization, needing some alternate template. Well, this is a 1, 2, 3, 0 swing strength 5 trading days chart. This is a 71400 chart. And we've used random numbers generated by a Google random number generator and plugged these principles in and done just fine. It almost doesn't matter what settings you use. Jonathan summarized it really well. Time is a moment where we expect activity, energy. There's a possibility. Now, statistically, what we know is that about 70% of the time, 60 to 70% of the time, we're on the blue wave. And about 30% of the time, we're on the orange wave. So we can have an expectation based on that in terms of majority, minority. But you're exactly right. There are moments in time that we're arriving at where things are expected to occur. So now, if you think of it that way, right? If you think of it that way, when we arrive at these times, what could we be watching for, Jordan? What might we be watching for at those times? If each moment, each node has the capacity for buying or selling, what could we be watching for? Come on. Come on. You can do it. Distinct price action, carry rights. Well, what does that look like? What it means is this. Plus, if we arrive at that node And remember, this is just the introduction. This is just the amuse-bouche, the appetizer. This is the fried pickles of what we're going to get into. If we arrive at this node and carry it has the capacity for this or for this, I could do a better job than that. Hang on. Be ashamed of yourself, Lydic. There we go. If it has the capacity for this, and it has the capacity for that, which I've now basically personally watched thousands of times, then does it not make sense? Could we not then monitor to see, does it start to curl over this way, or does it start to curl over this way at the time? Which one of these things is it doing? Let that sink in for a moment when I go look up stuff. I want to introduce you to the fever dream that was a series of Skypes that I sent Ron in the middle of the night while I was watching a 9-second force chart on the NQ, when all of this stuff starts to crystallize. And I swear to you that I almost lost my mind. Carrie, can you see what I typed to Ron here? I don't feel right, like I'm seeing something I'm not supposed to see. This was my state of mind when Omnia was born. And I'm literally, Earl, I'm literally watching a 9-second force chart and saying to myself, holy cow, I'm literally seeing these patterns play out in minutes where they would take hours on a 5-minute chart. Nominal polarity now. And I tell my wife the next day, Carrie, it felt as though I was in a coma and the doctors were feeding me data to make me believe I was a super trader to keep me happy in the coma. And I'm literally sending him screenshots telling Ron what's going to happen next on a 9-second chart based on the cycle that repeated over here. And all of this is happening at 11 o'clock at night, and there are 30, 40 Skypes in a row. And I'm trying to explain to him what I'm seeing. Is anyone else seeing what I'm seeing? So when we get to this moment, which way is it curling over? That would be a really important place to start. When I get to work with you guys, when I get to work with you ladies, we're going to see there are all sorts of actors in this play. We're going to learn about the rapid acceleration sell dot. We're going to learn about the rapid deceleration buy dot. We're going to learn about the amplifier setup. We're going to learn about the trend reversal pattern. We're going to learn about the trend reversal trigger signal. Today we're focused on the Omnia indication. So now over here on this chart, what's happening? What is it we're looking at? What are my settings? Right? Those are the questions we want to answer today. What have I been documenting on this NQ 5-minute chart? First of all, the settings for the chart that I've been using are a little different. And I had to be careful because I didn't want you to feel bad that someone figured out for free what you had paid money to learn. And so one of the things I did was change the settings that I've been tracking in the NQ. I didn't want you to see normal 714 settings and then someone figure out this very simple thing that I'm showing you today. All of my settings on the charts that I've been publicizing were based on a 714.00, but I've been using trading days instead of calendar days. Fun fact, one of the customers who's now available for mentorship, a guy named Dorian, some of you've met him, he's in the Skype groups all the time, called us and said, hey, if I use trading days instead of calendar days, the signals work much better. And I said, I don't believe that. And I tried it. And he was right. They work pretty good, pretty well. So for the marketing emails and the screenshots I've been sending out, the times didn't match up with what you normally see me use on a Thursday. And that was, again, to preserve the sanctity of this signal and the teaching for the people who wanted it, who would pay for it. So 714.00, the swing strength is set to 11. It's set to 11. Okay, that's the first thing out the gate that I want you to see. 714.00, swing strength 11. Now, as Jonathan said, there are moments in the future where we expect activity. We just don't know what the activity will be, not is supposed to. We don't live with words like supposed to anymore. And this is a very important point to make. I want to really drive this home. There is no supposed to in the Omnia framework. I quoted Bruce Lee, very eclectic mind, weird thoughts come in here and leave. There's a quote where Bruce Lee, attempting to describe his brand of karate, whatever, he's telling people, be like water, communicating that there's no rigidity to it. If I have to do this with my hands, if I have to do this with my feet, I'm open to what's coming to me. He said a water can crash like a wave. It can fill whatever vessel you put it in. So Jonathan, with Omnia, there's this idea of when I get there, I'll know. And we have means of understanding if a chart is on the blue wave or the orange wave. We're going to really use splits or partitions in a way that you've never used them before, as a way to take the temperature of the wave. Which wave are you? Are you the orange or the blue? Like every weird movie you've ever seen where there's twins and the parents don't know which one is which, and they look for a birthmark. Ah, he's got the birthmark. That's Billy and Jimmy is over here. We can apply a test to markets in real time to see which wave are you on. It's knowable. Ken, try it on both. Try it on both. And so I'll actually save this template as it's on my computer right now, and I'm going to give it to you in just 1 second. But I want you to understand what the program is doing right now. There are gray lines. Your gray lines are the exits. That's the time to be finished. So yesterday in the Skype group, I feel so bad for my partner sometimes. because he endures the full magnitude of the insanity that is my mind. This was the 5-minute chart from, did you write LOL? Yeah, you did. Sometimes he benefits greatly from it, and sometimes he's Spock at the end of that movie with his hands on the glass, the skin falling from his face. You're a lot, man. I love you, but you're a lot. I recognize that. But this was the chart from yesterday. This was the template from yesterday in the Skype group. And this is the continuation of that from last night. And so the settings seem to work out over time. Now, let me talk about what's happening. What it's doing is saying, hey, this is the time at 7:40 p.m. This is the time at 7:40 p.m. This is the signal candle right here. And so, Carrie, we're simply asking the program, what direction did the next candle go? What direction did the next candle go? In relation to the graphic that we drew here. How many of you are going, oh, okay. Yeah, I get that. So the first step in understanding the plugin that you have, it's a very important plugin. I suspect there's more updates coming for this plugin in the future. It's looking at the very next candle, and that's when the signal forms. So it would be helpful to have some kind of bar timer in the corner. And if you're watching it and you're seeing we're moving and moving and moving and we're picking a direction, you can almost anticipate what that signal will be. Same sense over here. There's the signal candle at 9:40 p.m. It is the time, the node of time, the time node, N-O-D-E. And then the computer says, what's the very next signal? And the very next candle is up. And what that does is present some very interesting possibilities. For example, for the very first time in 15 years, we can have multiple buy signals in a row, one after the other after the other, because our expectations are second backseat to the anticipation of what might happen. Could do either thing. We could jump to the orange wave at any time. We confirm its existence, and through confirmation of its existence, create an awareness of possibility that is fluid in nature. It's no longer rigid in structure. And that fluidity presents all sorts of possibilities. All sorts of possibilities. Okay, so now in the tool itself, we'll see a couple things. If you scroll down, you'll see doji function, doji body ticks, risk box, all of these things we're going to go over for a moment. I'm using a 1.75 on the ES chart right now. Okay. On the NQ, I have a 1.5. First thing, how big is my box? Right now, it's just like the dotted white and dotted blue stop lines on your warp indicator. We set how many ATR values using a 7-period ATR. We want that stop line away from the signal. So if we make this number 1 and hit OK, all of those boxes get smaller, and you'll see, Raj, we're hitting our stops a lot. If we make it what they always were in warp for default, we change the risk box to 1.5, that's nominal now. It accounts for what we usually watch, and that's what I've been tracking on the 5-minute NQ. So this box is 1.5 ATR values away, just like it was in the warp framework. Does that make sense? You'll learn in 10 days that there are all sorts of ways this box can be used. Ron doesn't trade the box the same way I trade the box. There are things that emerge when you start to see the signals through this filter. I do things differently now than I did back in January. Next, what do we do when we come up against a signal, the bar after, which isn't really a signal? And this is called the doji function. What do we do when the signal after the time node, Raja, opens and closes at the same point in time? This is a reality. What if you get to the signal and the very next bar is one of these? Well, what the heck does that mean? Zero commitment to either side. And so the default value says, hey, if you get one of those and the candle closed at its high, reference the time candle as the direction. If the signal candle, the one that's supposed to tell us something, opens and closes at the same point in time, reference the parent candle, the one that started this whole thing. That's the first thing. You'll also notice that there is the ability to redefine what a doji candle is. If you trade fast-moving markets like gold or the NASDAQ, sometimes the body of that candle is 2 wicks or 2 ticks, forgive me. So you have the ability now to say, what is a doji to me? What is a moment of indecision? Is it a candle with a 1-tick body, a 2-tick body, a 4-tick body? Spinning tops, I think they're called in the candlestick framework. Okay. And if it is a doji, if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4-tick doji, maybe I wait for the next bar. Do you understand? If I come up to a situation where, hey, I don't want to reference this candle, I really truly want to see maybe the next candle carry closes down. And what this does for us is it gives us sort of these checkpoints at the beginning of this decision-making process. Center, it's allowing us to go, wait, we don't have confirmation yet. It allows us to filter how big of indecision. Carrie says, an antidote for young man's disease. Which way is it really going? And you'll see in a moment, we have one more circuit breaker in the process. So at the very least, it says, hey, if this is a doji as defined by the number of ticks I've given you, I can either go with the original gangster, the goat, the primary time node candle, or I can wait one more bar to see which direction are you curling. Okay, so mine was set to 1 and as signal bar on this ES chart. Any questions about that those first two things that are in here? Okay. If, by the way, you want to set your box to a certain number of fixed ticks, just like with warp, you can do that too. You can also change the opacity of that box. You can make it more intense or less intense, more transparent or less transparent. And you can change the color. All of the colors here are customizable. Jordan writes, is there going to be an Omnia Skype room? Yes. I have to wait for Rachel to come back. We'll have it set up probably next week before the event. We're going to need that to be able to drop files down into the room. Yeah, Jordan, we're going to have that for sure. And it's going to be very active. I'm going to have follow-up training events. We're going to have discussions, live reviews. Omnia doesn't replace warp. And before I go to the next thing, let me make this point, because I think it's an important point. This plugin is the Happy Meal toy. It is not the burger. It is not the chicken nuggets. It's not the sundae. It's not the soda. It's not the dipping sauce. It's the bobblehead you take home and play with. It's an effective tool. But Craig, when I say Omnia, I'm referring to the real-time application of this theory to a live chart, any live chart, without the aid of an indicator. An awareness of, an understanding of how time really works. That's the stake. That's the porterhouse. This we're looking at, it's the fries. That's truly how I feel about it. Some of you are going to be like, no, indicator. Ah! And that's fine. I hope you love your Happy Meal toy. It's incredible. We worked really hard to make that Happy Meal toy. But when you're looking at any chart, if it's a full moon chart, new moon chart, if it's a 5-minute force chart, none of the charts that have this plugin for it, you'll be able to do exactly what we're doing here without the aid of the plugin anywhere you analyze time. Okay, good question. Next is the controversial parameter, and it's this little chimichanga right here, reversal. What happens if we arrive at a time, let's use candles that make sense in the real world. What if we have a signal where, Carrie, the primary entry candle is here, and that's where it plots our red arrow pointing down. And then, Danny, what happens if the very next candle does this and closes higher? It's that one last circuit breaker here that goes, whoa, 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 whoa. This came out of nowhere. Why did it just reverse like that? And so the reversal involves an engulfing bar directly after the decision bar. The reversal feature requires an engulfing bar directly after the decision bar. And so if we engage reversal, if we hit X over that box and we fill it in, the program is now going to go, was it a doji? Yeah. Was it a 2-tick doji? Uh-huh. Did you wait for the next candle? Sure did. Was there an engulfing bar? Uh-huh. Reverse. There are all these layers in place just to monitor which one of these things is happening as much as we can automatically with an indicator. Now, there's also a parameter here called buffer ticks. Oops. Buffer ticks. What does buffer ticks mean? It means this. If this candle, do I have an eraser? Yeah. Carrie, what if it jumps 1 tick and it's not completely an engulfing candle? So center, what if it opens up and closes or opens on the very next minute candle, let's say a 1-minute bar, and Carrie, it's not engulfing. There's a gap here. This happens quite frequently on thin markets and volatile markets like the NASDAQ. We then deploy the buffer parameter to say, hey, I want you. It's like plastic surgery for the candle to make it longer. There's a joke there somewhere, but we're in mixed companies, so I'll restrain myself. Let your imaginations run wild, Earl. We're going to extend. I'm such a child. We're going to increase the length of this candle by the number of ticks in your buffer box of the parameter. And so anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, ticks is going to help. I'm so stupid. You're all sitting there saying, I can't believe I gave this man money. It's going to compensate for that gap. And so now over here where it says buffer ticks, I think I made the point though. I think I made the point and everyone understood. So if you use the reversal, if you don't want any buffer ticks in here, I would have at least one. And we're going to build a chart that way. Okay. So that's what's going on here. That's what's going on this chart. So let me save this template and I'll do Omnia ES 5-minute and then I'll type intro so we know it was from today. Okay. So let's go back and take that template, NQ, and we'll load it now on a 1-minute chart. And we'll use that same template we just saved, Omnia ES. Where's the one we just saved? I'm sure I'm staring right at it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So here it comes on a 1-minute chart. And here we are. And now we come back. If you choose to deploy the reversal, activate it, give it at least 2 ticks for a buffer, we now introduce that variable into the calculation, right? And what that does is present some interesting possibilities. So Danny, can you see here, there's the original decision bar at 9:43. It closes down. The algorithm goes, all right, I got it. And then some guy with glasses runs out 60 minutes later and goes, hold on. I have a communique from the guys upstairs. There's been an engulfing candle. And that reverse will plot. So this becomes very interesting in regards to trend signals. And as you go further and further back, you can now only trade signals if you want in the direction of the trend, right? And some of you will only trade reversal signals. Okay. So there are days where that's not necessary, like yesterday on the NQ, we're going to sell here, we're going to sell here, we're going to sell here, we're going to sell here. And Danny, you can ignore the buy signal until maybe a reversal signal comes in and use that with trend. You can use that with trend. I'm going to explore something with you next week that says, hey, let's treat this like a puncture trade, only here. Let's sell it as soon as it comes in to yellow box with trend. Let's sell it here as soon as it comes in to the yellow box, right? We can do that. But the reversal signal is there as a last confirmation to tell us it's curling the other way. Everybody clear on that so far? The reversal candle is the last line of defense in trying to determine algorithmically which wave we are on. Are we on the blue wave or the orange wave? Understanding they both exist. Okay? So I'm going to save this template. This is a chart template, Omnia 1 minute NQ reverse activated 2 tick buffer. Okay, and I'm going to get that in your hands. When it reverses, Asif, fun fact, it flips the box to the other side. You're starting from scratch, just like Vanessa Williams sang, now we're starting over again. Yeah. You can do some weird stuff. So for example, can you apply the same indicator twice? Can you apply the indicator with a 0.75 stop box and a 1.5 stop box? Can you apply the indicator where the original box is there with no reversal and the reversal box is there on a separate iteration of the indicator? All sorts of crazy shenanigans that some of you knuckleheads are going to run down the road with. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this. Okay? Everybody good so far? Can everyone see without the indicator, Asif, if we're on the orange wave, what were we expecting to happen, carry at 9:45 without any indicators, without any reversal boxes, without any ATR settings, without any doji nonsense? What was my expectation when the webinar started for the 945 candle based on what you've learned so far and what I drew on this chart? Up, up. What happens when I put that arrow there and I put the buy underneath? What did it do? Good God Almighty, didn't it go up? It's not broken. Amen, hallelujah, pass the ammunition. It's not broken. The times are sacred. They are here. The reason that 945 line is there, it's neutral. It's a possibility. But boy, oh boy, when we come into it with that understanding, sell, buy, sell pattern 4. What do we do at a pattern 4? We buy the close. No, Ted, that's what the indicator does. The indicator is a Happy Meal toy. This is our steak. Num, 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 num. Full of vitamins and minerals and nutrients and protein and healthy fats. This is what I want you to master. Yes. Without any of this, you and I started back here and understood that it was going to shoot up at 945. Fascinating. So this mechanizes the theory. Whenever you mechanize something, Carrie, there's a cost, right? There's subtle things you lose because you've taken the entire theory down to a few parameters. You've taken the entire theory down to a few parameters. And you sacrifice something for that. You sacrifice something for the clarity of it. So on a 5-minute chart now, and this is something you guys are going to get in the habit of. Danny, if we were watching what Omnia told us the polarity was, we begin to enter into a new phase. Remember earlier, Danny, I said that the polarity, the splits, are the litmus test, the means of measuring polarity in real time. They were our thermometer, I think was the example I used. Yeah. So one of the things we're going to learn about next week is this. Danny wrote, how did Omnia support that 945 move? It's a great question. I should be able to answer that question if the theory holds water. And so what we have, and you'll learn about this more next week. Carrie, we've been doing it in the live advanced room on the down low. It's called the best fit theory. The best fit theory says, Danny, if I have a gap in time, let me do that with a neutral color. If I have a gap in time, I can apply splits one of two ways. Let's call it A and B. So if on my chart right now on the 5-minute ES chart, I had a negative signal, right? And the implication was it's negative and over here is positive. When I apply my splits, there's only two ways I can monitor this cycle. I can have a green line here or here. I can have a red line, forgive me. Let me get it right so it looks normal. then I can have a red line either here or here. So when we're watching the intermediate polarity between signals, Danny, this is a possibility or this is a possibility? Tell me if you guys are tracking okay. And one of these is going to offer the best solution. And one of these is going to look wrong. Earl, okay. Did anyone else understand what I just said? If we're looking at what's actually happening between the time signals, and we say, hey, I'm going to draw the signals this way and this way, and that's going to tell me a lot about the next move. Ted, here's how we might apply that here. Danny wanted to know, was there any way to know 945 might go up using just the indicator, right, over here? So I'm going to ask you all this. By 945, which one of these possibilities made more sense? I'm going to call this one A. And then Danny, as we're coming into that range, that period, does A or B explain what was happening in between the signals? B, A. At the split itself, Earl, the splits, at the split itself, the Omnia theory that I just taught you is like, hey, this is the time candle, the very next signal went down. At the split itself, the very next candle went up. And so now A doesn't look so good, and B is accounting for what's happening in real time. Did that make sense, Danny? So if this portion of the wave was driving down, and then this portion of the wave is starting to, all of this was red, and then a small spinning top, and then big blue, you can see the surges of energy in real time. So of course, and we can use that now over here. If this is the real answer over here, let's check it halfway through, a third of the way through. So there's a lot we can do. There's a lot we can do if we understand the underlying principles. If we understand the underlying principles. So if you come with me to a gold chart and we look at a daily time frame, and we don't even use a warp indicator. Come with me and we'll be in a world of pure imagination. Na, 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 na. Let's get rid of the first phase. I'll give you a taste of next week. Give you a taste of next week. You can see right here at the new moon, it goes backwards. The sequence is starting. Now it doesn't kick in until like a bar later with this full moon. but I'm assuming this will be a sell. And then Danny, with the new moon, I'm assuming it's going to be a buy. And with the full moon, I'm assuming it's going to be a sell. And then with the new moon, I'm assuming it's going to be a buy. And we have a means of teaching when that is going to stop. And when the polarity goes back to normal. Right here. I can always take the temperature of the signals. And ASIF, using full and new moons, I can see this is the best possibility. B. It went up at the green and down at the red, coming into the time signal. I'm on the blue wave again. Oh, thank God. And some of you took this trade. Some of you got long here, and some of you got long here because we were nominal polarity. If you follow my Instagram videos, I warned hundreds of thousands of people. It's a full moon in gold. We're going up. 3 more days. Yeehaw. But Danny, do you see, Center, do you see how I can take the temperature as we're coming into the next signal and say, which one of these is the best fit? It's not that one. It's the other one. Oh, thank God. It worked better. So, yeah, so we have that. You can use all sorts of stuff, ASIF, and I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole. What I do want you to know is how I tracked the signals when I made the equity curve for that chart you got. We start out, if there's no reversals, what I'll do, ASIF, is I'll go long. I went long and short for this equity curve, and then we're going to let you guys go. And I didn't use any moving average. I went signal to signal. And here's what I said. If it's a short here, I'm short until it hits this stop, minus $50. Oof. Now I'm long, I reverse when it breaks through, and my stop is down here. I hold it until the close of the next signal. So on this candle here, I would have been short and out by the gray line, but if it punctures above that yellow box, I'm long with the stop below the box. And when I did that over and over and over and over again from January 15th till a few days ago, that's what it looks like from 3:30 to 4:15. So when you're looking at these signals, I didn't have the reversal set. I didn't have the reversal set. I was tracking it like this: short from here to here, short from here to here, long from here to here, long from here to here. And if it broke through that box, I was short until the next signal at the reversal. Let me see if I can find an example of that. Here's a great example of that. Well, I have the reversal turned on. Let me turn it off just to show you what the absolute basic dumbest trading system I could think of was. And then I'll turn you loose with some templates here in a moment. If you turn off the reversal, the way that I was tracking it was like this. Short from here to here, I hit the stop and I log it. Then long at the breakout of the box, stop and reverse and hold until the next signal, positive 15. 5-minute chart on the NQ for that. 5-minute NQ. 3:30 Eastern to 4:15. Wherever the market is at 4:15, I close. Done. This should not work unless the theory holds water, in my opinion. So in the same way, great stopping point. In the same way that I teach signals with trend and punctures on Thursday, is that the best way? No. It's the simplest, dumbest way to test the veracity of the theory. And so I fully expect there will be variations of these trades and setups. I'm seeing them myself. I can't wait to share some of them with you. But that shouldn't work at all if we're just tracking it and doing what we're doing. No, Jordan, I don't. I didn't track the time signals. I just sat here and blasted through it. I haven't optimized it at all. Some of you are saying, can you use PVT? Sure, 100%. Can you trade to a daily goal every day? Sure. There are so many variations and opportunities inside the overarching framework of it all that it opens an entire new possibility box. Here's what I also think. It's cleaner, it's simpler, there's fewer decisions being made, there's no pattern numbers when you're using the indicator. So for many of you, dropping down into that simplicity may offer a new fresh wind of insights, if that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so let me do this. Let me get you 2 templates to start playing with. And using what we've got going here, chart templates, upload file, just let your brain start percolating. Today was not meant to be a fully encompassing training session. I wanted you to have just enough to understand where we're going with this. NinjaTrader templates, chart, there they are. And then my Omnia 5-minute NQ, where are you? Open. Let me upload the 5-minute NQ. Five-minute NQ. All right, so I'm going to share this whole folder with you guys. And I'm going to paste that into the chat box. And please tell me when anybody who wants it has clicked on it. I'll send this out with the recordings to you later today. Most excellent. Most excellent. Agreed. Agreed. Okay. Let's go back and turn that reverse on there because that's what you were watching. Any questions before we pack it up here this morning? I feel like it went well, and if I say one more thing, I'm going to ruin it. I tend to say the one more thing and ruin it, and I don't want to do that. Okay. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be incredible. It already is incredible. All sorts of possibilities, but we're ascending a higher level of consciousness with time signals. I believe in it. If I was ever going to get a tattoo, I would get that dumb logo on my shoulder or something. I feel like it has important significance. And this new framework is going to evolve into other things, right? Asif, what were we expecting at 10:25 based on what I said an hour and a half ago? Anybody? I'll leave you with this. Danny, what did it do immediately on the close of that candle? Still reverse polarity, the candle closed, and it dropped $250 per contract. Your risk on that trade was 50 bucks. This works. I wanted you to see it live so you understood it works. I'm not lying. I wasn't hyping it. This is the most important thing I think we've ever brought to you. And I'm excited to share it with you next week. Go play. We'll start setting up a Skype group. I think I can build one without Rachel's help. I think I know how to do it. And when the recording's out here in an hour and a half or so, check your inbox and we'll get you all in there. I honestly, seriously love you all. Thank you for your support. I feel it. Ron and I feel it. We're deeply appreciative. Tremendous amounts of gratitude. There's even more stuff coming. Ron built another indicator for me that you guys are going to get as soon as it's finished. Be patient. I've given you a little bit. Don't come at me 2:30 in the morning with your phone calls. Well, what if it's a purple? What does purple mean? I don't even know. Calm down. Calm down. Remember what you saw here. Remember what I showed you. Two signals that ordinarily we would say those were horrible warp signals, right? We would say crappy day in the warp world today. All of a sudden with this new umbrella, Danny, be like water. We were there without expectations. We understood what we were seeing. There's an orange and a blue wave. Which one are we on? Those questions lead to moments like this, and you're going to have hundreds of them. And I can't wait for the emails to start pouring in. Have a great day, guys. Wonderful session. Any questions, email me or Ron today. Rachel's on break till next week. Please don't bother her until you get some notices from her. And have fun. Play with it. Don't panic. All will be revealed shortly. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Take care.